How many times have you tuned into this program at 10 o'clock in the morning and found yourself wondering how people end up believing stuff that's simply not true? It's a real recurring theme for us, isn't it? I think it was before the B word, but goodness me, since then it's become probably almost an anorak level of interest stroke obsession for me. If you come, or try at least to come from a decent place, you end up almost caring more about the people who believe the things that aren't true than the people who believe the things that are true. You see it so clearly with the unfolding coronavirus catastrophes, the continuing coronavirus catastrophes, and the continuing insistence on believing things that are, at the very least, almost certainly not true. There is, I suppose, always the possibility of a almost sort of Halley's Comet of information crashing into the earth and changing completely the way we look at everything. But whether you're talking about vaccines, whether you're talking about phone masks, whether you're talking about face masks, whether whatever it is, whether you're talking about the existence of the virus itself, the determination of people to believe things that aren't true is both, well, obviously disturbing, but clearly very, very dangerous. And you know my theory, don't you? My theory is that for my generation, and I am nearly 50 now, although I may stop mentioning my age once we cross that milestone, because, you know, it's a I was going to say it's a young man's game, this broadcasting business, but having a quick look at the team sheet at LBC means I'll be all right for a few years yet. But still, I still quite like being the boy on the schedule, the newcomer, the neophyte. Is that the right word? Hope so. But I look at the period of my life where I've been involved in news, which pretty much begins with my first day on LBC. Prior to that, I was involved in very much the shallow end of the media, reporting on showbiz and gossip and some such fripperies. But ever since my living has involved keeping a close eye on the news, as my dad's living did for his entire working career, I have seen many, many roads lead back to climate change. Many, many roads. In fact, every time I find myself wondering about the enthusiasm with which we often embrace untruth and embrace, let me be kinder, simple answers to complicated problems. I mean, they are hardly ever the right answers, but there is a seductiveness to simplicity. I think, and I will get to a question a little bit quicker than usual today, but I think part of it has to do with your relationship with chaos. I genuinely mean this. I think about this a lot. I even occasionally write about it, don't you know? But the relationship with chaos, how frightened you are of chaos. And again, I've used the word frightened, so some people will start bridling. Don't call me frightened. I'm not frightened. It's all a load of nonsense. I'm not frightened. You're frightened. You're the one worried about the seas rising. I'll just buy a boat. I think it's to do with the nature of existence, actually. I think sometimes simple solutions to complicated problems seduce us precisely because they allow us to believe that things are quite straightforward and simple, that existence is on rails, that it follows rules and not even rules, but there is a regularity to existence. If you were given the choice of living in a world where a bit of sputum exhaled by an animal at a market in China or created under a microscope at a laboratory in China could end up bringing the entire world to a standstill, would you rather live in a world like that or a world where that could never happen? Straight up answer is you'd be mad to want to live in a world where it could happen. I don't think it's an enormous leap from wanting to live in a world where that could never happen to believing in a very real sense that you do live in a world where that could never happen, regardless of all the evidence around you. And now I hope you can see that I'm not juggling with my marbles this morning, that there are routes back to climate change coverage on almost all of these issues. The desire to believe that dangers don't exist is probably an evolutionary survival mechanism. Just when you thought I couldn't get any more highfalutin stroke pretentious than I have already, I honestly think it might be. And I don't want to sound patronising, but I hope that sounds a little warmer perhaps with regard to people who believe things that probably aren't true, almost certainly aren't true, definitely aren't true. That it's quite easy when you try. It's quite easy to understand how attractive that worldview would be. Even when you take it to its really silly extremes. I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to wear it. No one can tell me what to do. It's like not wanting to wear a tie at school. I don't want to go tell me what to do. No one's going to tell me what to do. But actually, you don't want to wear a mask because you don't want to believe that the virus is real, or you don't want to believe that it's dangerous as it is, and you don't want to believe that the virus is as dangerous as it is because you don't want to believe that existence is fragile. You don't want to believe that humanity is vulnerable, because if you believe that humanity is vulnerable, then you are vulnerable yourself, aren't you? And that, I think, is why, again, it's contempt for the con men, compassion for the conned. That is why the invitation to believe that climate change is a hoax, or that anthropocentric global warming was invented, or that there is no need to try to reduce our consumption of carbon or fossil fuels. The invitation is attractive. I don't know whether or not this is a particularly profound observation. I'll be honest with you, I doubt it. But if you were responsible for selling this crud, right? If you were, for example, Rupert Murdoch, and you saw the people you've sold it to and the people who know that it's snake oil tearing each other apart, I've got a feeling you sit back with your fingers pushed together like a steeple, like Mr. Burns in The Simpsons, and you love nothing more than the sight of the people who've bought your snake oil biting chunks out of the people who can see it for what it is, and all the time your ratings are going up and everybody's talking about the nonsense that you punt.